Hey Tally, are you ready to pack up the weekly reset for the year?
I certainly am, Evie. Khadgar's in the fridge, Maurice is already on his yacht, everything is ready to go into storage until 2020.
Wait, can you hear something?
Yeah, I think I can. Wait, it can't be, can it?
It's Grandfather Wintervale!
Ho, ho, ho.
Hang on, you're not Grandfather Wintervale.
Wrathion, what are you doing here with your bulging sack?
I got you guys a little present to show my appreciation for all the grinding you'll be doing for me in 8.3.
Oh, don't remind me.
I bet it's another legendary cloak.
Here you go.
Oh wow, a backpack. That's actually fair play, Wrathion. That's actually really cool, thank you.
It's not just any old backpack. It's a Black Dragonscale Backpack.
Oh, awesome, that's so cool, thank you.
Hang on, Black Dragonscale Backpack?
Yep.
But you're a black dragon though, aren't you?
Yep.
What did you make this backpack out of, Wrathion?
Oh, that would be telling. Anyway, enjoy how soft yet firm it feels against your skin. Happy Wintervale, everyone.
Why are you walking backwards, Wrathion? Why won't you let us see your back?
Actually, can I have that backpack?
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another weekly reset. Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow. The last weekly reset, though not our last video, before our little festive break. And yes, true, perhaps this hasn't been the absolute busiest week in WoW news, as Blizz staff are probably getting ready for a little festive break themselves, which is just about fair enough I suppose. But you know Warcraft fam, even when we think it's about to be quiet and chill and carefree, there's always some shit going on, isn't there? So this week we've got classic news and BFA 8.3 news, and because it's the season of giving, we also have no less than 2 Shadowlands Epic Edition codes to give to you. And no more than 2 codes either. There's 2 codes, we've got 2 codes to give away, right? It's gonna be awesome! So without further ado, let's get things rolling with the real reason that any of you are here, I know. Longboy Watch, my continuing mission to do the excellent gold making and make all of the gold to afford the glorious stretchy auction boy, who is the opposite of a cheap date. You may remember that this time last week, my total funds across all characters was 1,693,000 gold. This week, after many hours of grinding and farming and disenchanting and tailoring and frankly a whole ton of other things that feel like hard work and not totally unlike having a real job, which, okay, I guess, but you know. My totally imaginary video game wealth now sits at a much more impressive 1,861,000 gold. Yeah, look, I'm stockpiling for 8.3, okay? It's gonna be absolutely fine, you'll see. Honestly, it's like having a real job. Like, seriously, I didn't make this stupid channel so I could have a real job. If I wanted that, I might as well do a real job and actually make some real money and then have some kind of security, maybe a pension, I don't know. I'll keep you updated. And onward to World of Warcraft Classic, which had a major update last week with the introduction of 2 queuable battlegrounds, Warsong Gulch and Alterac Valley. And you know what that means, don't you, Classic fam? It means if you are not max level yet in Classic, then you are finally safe. Like, if you are the kind of noob scrub who hasn't even reached level 60 yet, like that dweeb, Mr. GM, or me, then the coast is clear. The rampant, bloodthirsty kill squads of honor-ravenous gankmeisters are no more, kind of. The roads to Azeroth are peaceful and serene. The flight point's clear. You can safely go back to whatever it is you were doing that means you still haven't leveled to max yet. Whatever that is, have fun. Warsong Gulch is queuable from level 10 onwards at 10 level intervals, which means that WoW Classic has now well and truly entered the age of the twink. But the battleground that has been capturing the imagination and the attention and the headlines the most is Alterac Valley, as this legendary game mode is right up there with the Barrens or Elwyn Forest music, or the opening of the Gates of Anchorage, or the Blood Plague, or the sheer amount of fire resist gear that you need to farm to beat Ragnaros in Molten Core, as one of the most storied and wistfully remembered parts of vanilla WoW. And remember the player base did, in-game and in particular on the forums, as happy players revelled in their chance to re-enter battles across the snowy landscapes that go on for literal days, back and forth around the peaks, of summoning tree lords, of random fishing excursions, of the pure unfettered time, effort and commitment to finishing one game, a solid embodiment of everything that vanilla stood for, of no, it was a shit show, obviously. When did people stop wanting to have fun? We wanted classic so much, we destroyed it ourselves. I think it will ultimately end up ruining the game! F the spy add-on, F killing Flame Lash, F you for hiding behind shitty excuses for griefing other players. Okay, so if you aren't right in the middle of this one, then it might take a little bit of explaining. But the source of the discontent in this wintry battleground is about the honour needed to reach rank 14 in Classic, and Alterac's existence as the most efficient way to do it. Basically, as things stand right now, the quickest, most efficient way to get the honour that you need is to be in Alterac as much as possible and to win each game as quickly as you can, running en masse to the final faction boss and taking him out at the earliest opportunity, resulting in what has become known as the Drek or Kek meta. Drek being the Orc General that Alliance players are bypassing any other Alterac gameplay in favour of heading straight towards and taking out. And you might understandably be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, Taliesin, what's unusual about that? Don't you always go into any battleground, or arena, or dungeon, or raid for that matter, trying to win as quickly and efficiently as possible? Isn't that kind of the point? And you're not wrong, of course, but 10-minute sprint fests from one end of the map to the other, which often don't even take in much actual PvP combat between the two armies, are so different from the marathon experience that most players remember about Alterac, and so far removed from kind of the whole point of Alterac Valley that a lot of players feel it's robbing them of one of the coolest parts of vanilla. And for me, this is the really interesting bit. There's an argument to be made here that we as players and a community have changed so much in how much we know about this game and therefore how we play it, that keeping AV no changes, as in just like it was in patch 1.12, actually makes the play experience less true to vanilla than it would be if they changed it from the original code. Yes, it's a philosophical question, and fam, you know how much I love applying philosophical questions to video games. Because here's the thing, if this were the live game and not Classic, and this meta had developed and most of the player base were pissed off about it, the fix would be very easy. Blizz would just leave it for a bit, but then patch it later on so that other activities in the battleground awarded more efficient ways of getting honour, or made it harder to do the Drek run. But Blizzard simply can't do that, because Classic isn't about balancing a game so that it works as best it could, it's about recreating a game exactly as it was. To kill Drek or Kek would go against a fundamental principle of Classic's existence and potentially open the floodgates for other non-vanilla accurate changes. Now, there's an argument that says that Blizzard could avoid this problem by simply rolling back to an earlier version of Alterac Valley. The battleground went through numerous changes in vanilla before it even got to the patch 1.12 version that's represented in Classic, and a whole ton afterwards as well, for years. I wonder why? And Tips Out and Esfand have both put forward eloquent arguments for using an earlier patch version of AV, which, for example, would have more computer-controlled NPCs in play, making Drek or Kek a harder thing to do, although, importantly, still probably the most efficient thing to do. So what's the solution here? And do we even need a solution? After all, if you don't want to engage in this relatively joyless meta, then you don't have to, right? You can just happily go out farming honour in the way that you like to do it, till you have enough. Well, unfortunately, it's not quite that simple, because your ranking doesn't just rely on how much honour you personally have, but on how much honour you have in relation to other players on your server. So basically, if all the other players are running 11-minute games, you simply stand no chance of getting the amount of honour that you need. And you better believe plenty of players are doing that, because of course they are. And it's important to point out that, of course, this meta did exist back in vanilla, and of course players used it to get tons of top PvP ranks. But the amount of players that knew about it and who were dedicated enough to do it were minuscule as a proportion of the player base compared to the amount of people doing it now. As we've always said, you cannot recreate the vanilla experience just by having a game that is exactly the same as vanilla, because after 15 years of playing and learning about a game, you could never have the same experience. And in fact, this shows that even if you did somehow forget literally everything you know about WoW and really were experiencing it for the first time, your experience would still be different in Classic, because other players are approaching the game completely differently to how they did 15 years ago. And in an MMO, the way that other players play will impact your experience too. Like a lot of Classic, in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons here. I want a no changes experience, and I think Classic is a good enough game on its own merits to make that worthwhile. I think boring dungeon grind leveling and Alterac Valley honor metas are a shame, and not really why I'm playing Classic, but it's a small enough price to pay. But here's a question that may actually teach us something in the very asking of it. What's more important in a game whose purpose is to recreate the experience of vanilla WoW? That its code and numbers are as close as possible to a perfect recreation of vanilla, or that the play experience is? Because as we are seeing right now, those two things are not the same thing, and in many cases can be completely at odds with each other. So which is the better recreation? An Alterac Valley which runs on exactly the same numbers and code as it did in patch 1.12, or one which is actually different from anything that actually existed back then, but which means people play it a lot more like they did in vanilla, and therefore have a more vanilla-like experience? I've just said which side I'm on, but there are arguments for and against both, which is fascinating to me. For me, it's like, you know how in the 13th century, all the door frames were much, much lower because people were just much, much smaller in the 13th century than they are now? Well, imagine you wanted to experience exactly what it was like to live in a 13th century castle. And so you magic up an exact replica of a castle in the 13th century exactly as it would have been. You're going to have to duck to get through all of the doors, which is not a good representation of how people lived back then, because they didn't have to duck to get through the doors. Ducking through doors every 5 minutes was not a part of their everyday life. So you have a castle which is exactly like the original, but your experience of it isn't representative of how people would have lived there at the time. In this example, making the doors and ceilings higher in your magic castle so you didn't have to duck would be a more accurate recreation of what living in a 13th century castle would have been like, even though it would be technically less accurate than having the doors at the proper height. And that's where I feel Classic is at. The experience of Classic isn't true to vanilla precisely because everything else in the game so unchangeably is. And here's the learning part, because if we accept that what a game is and how it's played change over time, whether the game changes or not, because the player base matures and how they approach it, and vanilla versus Classic Alterac Valley is our proof that it does, then it can make us look at why devs might make changes in a new way. Because maybe the many, many patches worth of changes that Alterac Valley has gone through in the last 15 years weren't to try and take away all those things that we remember about it so fondly, but to preserve them. Maybe the same could be said for a lot of the other changes and updates Live WoW has received in its lifetime. Because as we've seen, simply preserving the game in its original state is not always enough to preserve those things which are good about it. To do that, ironically, you need to make changes. Or maybe I'm just full of shit. I only go into AV to fish anyway. As you'd imagine, Wowhead has all the details and guides for both new battlegrounds that you could ever need. There are links below.
The Battle for Azeroth 8.3 PTR got what you'd have to imagine will probably be its last big update of the year this week, giving us plenty to get stuck into. Like, for example, the cost of the Vessel of Horric Visions from Wrathion. You've forgotten what the Vessel of Horric Visions is, haven't you? Come on, guys! We covered this in depth last week. Remember how Tally told you that it was all really simple? And he proved how simple it was because it only took him 10 solid minutes and a flowchart to explain it all to you? Yeah, you remember that. Well, the Vessel of Horric Visions is your ticket into Horrific Visions, which is how you level up your cloak for insanity and corruption resistance fun times. Running N'Zoth assaults to earn the Coalescing Visions currency you need to buy the vessel is the main open world gameplay loop of the entire patch, so it's pretty important. And last week, a vessel, i.e. one try at Horrific Visions, cost 1,000 Coalescing Visions, which meant you could comfortably enter 2 a week. Vision. Sorry, I just felt I hadn't said vision enough. Anyway, the new cost on the PTR is 10,000 Coalescing Visions for one Vessel of Horrific Visions, Visions, which, as all you maths whizzes out there will have noticed, is 10 times as much. So 1 horrific vision every 5 weeks. Except no, obviously, because the amount of coalescing visions you get awarded from assaults have also been increased by 10. So it's all exactly the same as it ever was, but with more zeros. This is probably so Blizz can make singular or small amounts of coalescing visions drop more often around the world without it being such a big deal. Tally says he's already noticed they seem to be on most enemies you kill now. So yeah, it looks like you need more, but you don't. Don't let those high numbers cloud your, understanding. Also added to Wrathion's vendor table this patch is the Black Dragonscale Backpack. Remember when everyone got really upset by the backpack transmog recruit a friend reward a few weeks back and we were like, hey, don't worry my dudes, clearly this is not a one-off and there will be loads more backpack transmogs coming after this? Well, here we are! Now you have no reason to be upset by the uniqueness of the recruit a friend backpack because seriously, look how cool this is! Wait, we should equip it so we can appreciate this bad boy in all its glory. Oh, okay. Fine, you can go back to being upset about the recruiter friend backpack now, sorry. Obviously that's going to get sorted in another build, but something that already looks great is Sliver of N'Zoth, which allows you to pledge yourself to our tentacly overlord for reals though, and become aggressive towards members of your own faction. Yes, the effect that we all wanted to become a part of our favorite transmog ruining fleshy eye hat, the Gift of N'Zoth, isn't. Which means we are still waiting to see, like seriously, why? We've been wearing it all this time. No, you do it with instead. And for one thing, is a very cool name, evoking Lovecraft's Wrathion, the nightmare corpse city where we first encounter Cthulhu. For 2, it's really hard to get. You have to enable war mode and become an assassin, which means killing 10 of the enemy faction without dying, at which point you get offered a deal with N'Zoth, and then you have to kill 10 of your own faction without dying for the Toy and the Servant of N'Zoth title. What's unclear yet is if you just swap factions, in which case it's just a really hard achievement, or if you are killable by your own faction and still the opposition faction too, in which case this is maddeningly difficult. Obviously you want this. Who doesn't want the Servant of N'Zoth title? Who doesn't want to look this cool? Tally is already planning how to do this as we speak. Also on the subject of N'Zoth is the inclusion of a new 4th mythic-only phase of the final boss encounter of Ny'alotha, described in the dungeon journal like so. As N'Zoth the Corruptor's tentacles tighten on the Chamber of the Heart, Magni and Mother begin unleashing the fury of the Forge of Origination to put an end to the Corruptor's plans, or so they hope. Oh, I love a good proper secret mythic phase, and this is the first, and I guess last, one of the expansion, which is super exciting, both from a world first and lore point of view. Don't forget that Blizz have said in the past that whatever happens in the mythic phase of a fight is canon, after all. So, if you didn't see the mythic phase of Archimonde in Warlords of Draenor, for example, then you wouldn't know that we killed him in the Twisting Nether, making him canonically totally dead now. So it might be that the Mythic N'Zoth phase contains important story information that reveals the old god's true fate, or it could just be a super difficult phase of annoyingness that's going to make us all hate our lives. Judging by the abilities listed, it seems likely that some or all of the raid will have to go to the Forge of Origination to disarm titanic countermeasures, which will in turn stop you from channeling Azeroth's radiance. It sounds like a similar balancing act to the Ashara fight, basically, where you used your Heart of Azeroth to build up the Titanic Seals. Yay! Actually, the most important part of this is that it seems that there is no Phase 1 in the Mythic fight. Final bosses in this expansion have a reputation for incredibly long, drawn-out first phases. One of the reasons why farming them is about as attractive as being a farmer. Screw that shit. So if this does turn out to be true and the Mythic fight starts at Phase 2, that's going to be really good news for everyone. There's other cool, smaller changes too, like the new Death Knight eye animation, now with added super cool Lich King style smokey bits smoking out of the sides, and the new Veteran of the Fourth War ability for Panda and allied race Death Knights, which is exactly the same as Veteran of the Third War that older DKs have, increasing stamina by 10%. It's just a cool flavor change to reflect that these new DKs are newer than the ones Arthas raised in Wrath. Which is all very good, but here's the thing, Blizz. My Death Knight is a veteran of the 3rd and 4th Wars now, so I eagerly await my 20% stamina buff in 8.3. And finally, if you really must actually have something to do in the game right now, without even waiting for 8.3 in the new year, don't forget that this week's Cataclysm Timewalking event includes your first chance to take part in the scaled Timewalking Firelands raid. This was absolutely the coolest raid in Cataclysm, and not only will you have the warm satisfaction of a job well done after tackling it in normal difficulty, but you'll also have another chance to loot Fandrel's Flame Scythe, which turns a druid cat form into the awesome Fire Kitty, and you definitely want the Fire Kitty, right? As always, we are including links below to all the relevant Wowhead articles so you can find what you're looking for. And also, sorry farmers, you do great work.
There's one other little change in the 8.3 PTR that caught my eye as well. You know that achievement like for the Alliance and for the Horde, where you go and you have to kill all the different faction leaders in like PvP groups and stuff. Like you go into Orgrimmar and you kill the Horde, and you go and you kill Anduin and you've got to kill them all. Well, obviously in 8.3, Sylvanas has been taken out of that achievement because obviously she's now unkillable because she's not in Orgrimmar anymore in 8.3 after all the events of 8.2.5. But what that means is there are only 2 bosses like that you can possibly kill. Like there's only 2 bosses in the For the Alliance achievement that you can kill, and that's Bane and Lorthamar, because there are no other Horde leaders. Like they've all died or disappeared or gone away. Like over the years we've lost so many Horde leaders that there are now only 2 in the For Alliance. I kind of feel like that should just be a freebie at this point, and that like any new Alliance character that gets started should just, like, you know, when you start a new level 1 character, that achievement should just flash up.
Yeah, pretty much, because
you get it
they've pretty much all died already. It's like congrats.
Well done, you win just by being here. Good old Alliance. Something that Horde are really enjoying, of course, is Alterac Valley at the moment, whether that be in Classic or in live as well, because in Classic, obviously it's the way that you get all of your honor at the moment, and you're just making the games as quickly as possible. But that's exactly what's happening in live at the moment as well, because it's the best way to get experience. So you've got loads and loads of people just leveling alts to Alterac Valley. So I feel like whether you're playing Classic or live, all you're looking at is those snowy peaks at the moment, and I'm sick of them. I can't, honestly, I just can't wait for it to be 8.3. I need some purples, I need some pinks.
I need some tentacles. I think that's what you need.
Don't we all? Well, it is Christmas.
Man needs some tentacles.
Christmas is coming. Who knows?
Santa?
Is that you? I've got to say that so far, and bearing in mind I'm not playing it like all the time like I will be when it's out, but so far I've enjoyed every single moment that I've put into the 8.3 PTR. It's been really, really good.
I mean, every time I've watched you play it, I've been like,
yeah, like legit, the story that sets it all up is really good, and they've got the in-game cutscenes in there now as well. And like, there's just a lot of gameplay just to get kind of cracking on it, even to begin with.
Great.
And the whole kind of loop of doing assaults and making the currency and going into horrific visions, it feels natural and not forced, and it just feels really good. And
Great.
The assaults are pretty cool. I mean, I could do with the assaults still being a little more populated than they are. I feel like some places you go, it's like madness and tentacles everywhere and like big monsters being badass, and you're like, whoa, N'Zoth's here, everyone. And some places you go to, it's just a bit purple and there's like some oozes to kill and stuff like that. So I'd like to see it like being completely nuts like everywhere.
Okay.
But there's enough cool stuff going on and enough little special effects going on and like special abilities happening and things like that it does feel really interesting. I like it. So far, I've enjoyed it more than other PTRs, to be perfectly honest.
Great.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So hopefully we'll have a happy new year.
I'm really looking forward to it. I need some guided gameplay right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm kind of done with the, should I keep grinding for my, expansion armor set?
Oh, what, your Shadowlands armor set?
Yeah.
Oh, what, you haven't even done that
I
yet?
haven't even done that yet.
But you bought...
Because I can't be bothered to grind.
You bought the pre-order Epic Edition with your own money.
I did.
Specifically to do that.
I did.
You didn't do it for the sperm mount, did you?
No, I didn't.
Evitel may have wasted her money on a pre-order for Shadowlands Epic Edition, but you don't have to waste yours because, as promised, we have a special Winter Veil competition.
Winter Veil.
Oh, do you know, hey, isn't it great how we can say Winter Veil again? You know, they tried to ban us saying Winter Veil. You know, people were too
the
scared.
war on Winter Veil.
People were too scared to say Winter Veil until we came along and we got rid of all that PC nonsense. And you know, people can say Winter Veil again. Isn't that great? It's me. I did that.
You did. Good job. So anyway, what's happening for Winter Veil?
You can win. We've got 2 codes, courtesy of Blizzard. They sent them to us, and we think they're not European specific or whatever. We think they're like worldwide.
Across
so
the board.
we have 2 codes for Epic Editions of Shadowlands pre-order. So that's the really good one with
That's
everything
the
in
good
it.
stuff.
So you can grind for your Shadowlands transmog like Evitel can't be bothered to.
You can do the things I haven't done.
You get the sperm mount. You get to play Shadowlands when it comes out. So you get all the cool pre-order stuff, which will
Nice.
probably be the DK stuff and what have you as well.
You get a boost.
You get 120 boost, which you can use right now, and you get like all the other cool stuff as well. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Lucky you, because we bought it with our own money, but you don't have to.
So how did these lucky people get this?
You can win this by liking this video. Don't dislike it because you won't win.
Exactly.
We know.
We know.
We can tell, all right? And then you put in the comments below, you have to write Happy Winter Veil, and then write a really nice Winter Veil message
Oh.
for us that will make us feel good.
Oh.
And then you have to put, please give me a code at the end.
That's a lot of instructions.
No, it starts off, Happy Winter Veil, really nice Winter Veil message, like, oh, Taliesin, your beard is lovely, and I'm sure it'll be even lovelier in the new year when we see you next. And then you say, please can I have a code?
Okay.
And that's so we know that you want the code and you're not just being nice.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You
Okay.
see?
So remember
Like, it's
those
easy.
3 parts.
And then in the new year, we will give you the code when you win. We will announce the winners on the next episode of the Weekly Reset, which won't be until 2020.
Hey.
Probably the first or second week of January 2020. Now, obviously, we will make other videos before then, but we're not going to be able to do this again. We're not going to be sitting on the sofa doing the news and stuff. So maybe I'll finally get that Tyrande video done. I've got another couple of ideas I want to bring out, and we'll have our usual Christmas compilation of all of the intros from the Weekly Reset
I can't
this
wait.
year as well. I can't wait. And we'll be streaming as well. And if that's still not enough for you, then don't forget that I'm currently doing a podcast with Garrett from The Instance and from loads of millions of other non-WoW related shows as well. It's called WoW Killer, and you can find it right now on all of your WoW podcasting I don't know much about
You clearly don't know what you're talking about. You can find it on every podcasting platform out there, basically.
I haven't done a podcast before. It's difficult, okay? There are 2 episodes out. It's a single topic World of Warcraft show. So every week we just choose one specific topic and talk about it for literally hours.
Yeah, I know.
WoW Killer, go find it now. Episode 2 has a special guest appearance from Peculiar from WoWhead. We interview her about loads of stuff about
Very
data mining
nice.
and things like that. It's a super duper podcast, so plenty more fun to come. But
Hey.
what a year it's been.
That was too English. Do it again.
What a year it's been.
No, you gotta do it. What a year it's been.
Well, now I don't have to because you've just done it.
Yeah.
You used to like that impression. You used to say it was good.
You're out of practice.
Oh, no. Well, it doesn't matter because it doesn't work for the company
You're-
anymore. So he's dead to me. I care not. I care not. I can't even remember his name. I care about him so little. It's all. Do you know who it's all about now?
Who?
Brackmeister. What a year it's been.
And then
Please don't hate me.
shake out his glorious mane.
Yeah, only you can do you're the Brack impressionist here. Thank you for joining us today, not just for this episode, but throughout the entire year of 2019. It's been a beautiful year. Oh, we've done so much.
It's been a good one,
It's been a
actually.
really good one, but you know what? I think 2020 is going to be even better.
I'm feeling it.
If you like this video, and in fact, the entire year's worth of weekly resets, don't thank us, thank our patrons who have made every single video that we've made this year possible. Guys, without you, there would have been a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel, so thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it, and remember my name is Ashiful. No, my name is Taliesin from me.
And me, Evitel.
Until 2020. Cheerio.